Okay. Good morning again. Yechave Daat, first book in general. Yechave Daat. If you're looking for a teshuvah about a holiday, it's going to be in the first book usually. So Yechave Daat, first book Aleph. We are on Siman 46, Manvav, and the question is, it's not a very long question, it's very short. The question is, Mi she'en yachol lakum be'ashmonet haboker lomar selihot b'chol yemei chodesh Elul. Someone who can't wake up early in the morning during the month of Elul to make selihot. I can't do it. Can he instead do nighttime selihot? And so we'll go through the points very briefly. It's not very long. Number one, he says, why do we say selihot in the morning, in the early morning only? And not in the beginning of the nighttime instead? Because if you think about it, the Jewish day starts in the night. So, but we don't start it in the beginning of the day, we wait until the morning. It says in the Zohar, from the morning, from the hours of the morning, מתעוררים חסידים בעולם. חסידים. Not Hasidim. Also Hasidim. No, the Hasidim don't wake up early. Hasidim. Kindness is awakened in the morning, in the early morning. In the morning, in the daytime, Hashem shines over His kindness. And now from Minha time until midnight, not midnight American time, 12 o'clock, midnight Jewish time, which is Sha'ot Zamaniyot, which varies every single night. Let's just call it 12 o'clock. From Minha time until 12 o'clock, Mit'orerim Midot Adin. Now judgment. Nighttime is a time of judgment. That's why it's a great idea, like we always say in the ladies' class, to say Kriyat Shema She'al Hamita and Yoshev Beseted Elyon. And all these protections. This protects you because nighttime is a time Lo Aleinu of Kitrug, of judgment. Okay, now. The Gemara Berachot says, David HaMelech, he writes in Tehillim, Hasod Laila Akum Neodot Lecha. In the midnight, David HaMelech woke up. And we know the famous Gemara, it's also Midrash, that the wind, at midnight. But not that one. The Midrash and the Gemara says a wind would blow by David HaMelech's bed and his harp, or whatever, it's not really a harp, I think it's a lyre, Lyre is the real name of the instrument. It would blow the strings, and that was his alarm clock at exactly midnight. Hasot Laila Akum, David HaMelech woke up exactly at midnight to pray and sing to Hashem until the morning. And so we see the midnight is where it starts, the Et Ratzon, the good time. Okay. Number two, he says, the Arizal writes, Veda shebechasot halayla harishon en lomar klal shum selihot v'lo la'askid yud gimel midot. From sunset, from Set of Chavim really, from really nightfall until midnight, don't say Vaya'avod, the 13 attributes, Anna, we don't say Anna and Arbit. Tachanun, we don't say an Arbit, right? Only Shachrit and Minha. Why not Tachanun Arbit? There's the reason. Arbit is a time of deen. We don't want to awaken any teshuvah. You don't want to go to appeals court when the judge is in a bad mood, right? So we don't want to start the whole teshuvah process at night. Now we do say Asham Nubaganu in the Shema before bedtime, but not Vaya'avod. And so the Arizal says, don't say no Selihot or no Yud Gimel Midot at nighttime before Hatzot. There's a rabbi named Rabbi Moshe Zechut, who's a Mikubal. Rabbi Moshe Zechut says, he explained the words beautifully, Al Pi Kabbalah, and he says, Bechol Tokef, strongly, you should not say Selihot in the first half of the night. Also, the Yud Gimel Midot Rahamim of Ya'avod, we don't say. Now, sometimes we pray Minha here, right? And it's getting a little late, and we have no minyan, and we're waiting for a minyan. This is just a side issue. You have until, what's it called? Ben Hashem Ashot. Ben Hashem Ashot is an additional time after sundown, after sunset. You have an additional time where it's not day, it's not night, it's a safek. 13 and a half minutes, according to Chacham Vadia, you have 13 and a half minutes after sunset to still pray Minha. And when that happens, we do this in the shul But vaya'abod, after the 13 and a half minutes, that's it. You don't want to see any vaya'abods anymore. No more vaya'abod, no more tahanun. Okay. And you can look up this Sima by yourself if you want to really see Rabbi Moshe Zechut. Rabbi Moshe Zechut has a whole long thing you would like to read. I think you would like it. We're in book 1, Siman 46. I'm not going to read the whole thing because we're late on time. Siman number 3. Well, I want you to mention the last 2 lines of Rabbi Moshe Zechut says. Rabbi Moshe Zechut writes, V'ra'ui legedolei hadod, the great rabbis of the generation, it's befitting them, leg'od bahim u'batil min hagam, to yell at the people and to stop them from doing Selihot at nighttime. It's not good what they're doing. Ki min hagam zeh b'ta'ut. It's a mistake, this custom they're doing. Ve'en lo mish'an u'mish'aneh. There's nothing to rely on. They shouldn't do this. And that's what Rabbi Moshe Zechut writes. Source number 3. He says, the Magen Avraham writes in the name of the Arizal, She'en lomad kodem hasot laila shum selihot, and not dirgim midot, like we said. V'chem pasak ahida. So who agrees with this, that you shouldn't say selihot in the first half of the night, before, from sundown until hatzot laila, until midnight? Who agrees with this? The Hida, Avodat HaKodesh, Reb Chaim Palaji, Magen Avraham, Kafa Chaim, Shalmei Sibud, Mateh Ephraim, Mishnah Birura, almost every single heavy hitter you want, from all spectrums of the Jewish world, agrees that you should not say tahanun at nighttime. Selihot is tahanunim. We don't say it at nighttime. Now, he says here, Hacham Avdiya says, you're going to ask me about, what about Yom Kippur? Yom Kippur, we stay up at nighttime praying, and we say tons of Selihot.
It's Yom Din.
He says, it's Yom Din. He says, don't ask me about Kippur. Omnam, haminhag pashut b'chot tefosot Yisrael, b'leil Yom Kippurim, lo ma Selihot. And the Yom Midot Rahamim. Achen, be'emet, en lahavi raya mil Yom Kippurim. Don't bring me a proof from Yom Kippur. Why? Ki b'Yom Kippurim laila kayom ya'ir. Yom Kippur, the nighttime is like a daytime. Ya'ir bet orirut rahamim. Ve'af ha-satan en lo reshut la'astid b'Yom Kippurim. The Satan doesn't have power on Yom Kippur. I think we said this one time for the ladies. The gematria of Satan is missing 1 from the year. There's 1 day in the year that the Satan does not rule, Yom Kippur. And so therefore, don't ask for Kippur. We're going to skip ahead now. He says, Rav Moshe Feinstein, one of the greatest poskim we've had in the generation, in the previous generation, Ashkenaz posek. Rav Moshe Feinstein says, he writes in Igrot Moshe that it's okay to start and pray Selihot at nighttime. Rav Moshe Feinstein. However, Hacham Avdiya really, really disagrees with him very, very strongly and says it's a big mistake. You should not rely on Moshe Feinstein, the Mikubalim, and he says maybe Rav Moshe Feinstein never saw what Rav Moshe Zechut said. He's going to be Dan Lechav Zechut. It can't be Rav Moshe Feinstein saw the words of Rav Moshe Zechut, because if he saw the words of Rav Moshe Zechut, that you can't say it at night, Rav Moshe Feinstein would never say he could do it. That's what Hacham Avdiya writes. And so therefore he argues very strongly on Rav Moshe. Another point here that I'm going to sum up here, he addresses, he says, some people want to say, when the Gemara says and the Mikubalim say that nighttime is a time of judgment, which location's nighttime are we talking about? Isn't Yerushalayim the center of the world? Does Hashem divide according to the region you're in? Or Hashem goes by Israel? If it's nighttime in Israel, that's a time of judgment for the world. If it's daytime in Israel, it's a good time for the world. And so some people want to say that since it's nighttime, when it's nighttime here in America, it's daytime in Israel, it's okay. This is a claim that some people want to make. It's actually it has what to rely on. It has what to rely on. There's makes a lot of sense. However, after a whole paragraph,
not to rely on.
Something not to rely on.
Shabbat, we do everything according to our time.
Exactly. He goes through it over here, a large chunk of the page, and at the end, as you would suspect, he says, no, you go by the location that you're in. Hashem is Hashem. He's the God of the whole world. You're right, Israel is the most important, but still, the Mikubalim are too strong with what they say for us to rely on this regional heter. So therefore, even though it's daytime in Israel, when it's nighttime here, still don't say it because it's nighttime by you. Okay. Now, we're almost done here. It seems if you can't make a minyan for Selihot in the morning before Shachrit, our Selihot here is 5:15 in the morning. Hopefully we get a large minyan. It's not easy. It's very, very early. Speaking for myself. Then you could say Selihot before Minha. You can have an afternoon Selihot minyan if you can't have a minyan in the morning. Even though it says in the Zohar, Minha also is a strong time of deen. What's the famous example? Eliyahu Navi Behara Karmel. When Eliyahu Navi was on the mountain against the Nevi'eh Baal, the false prophets, he waited all day for Minha time. And then, bam, came the fire. Minha already, the deen, the judgment in the world is coming. It's starting to come. It's not as full-fledged as night, but it's coming a little bit during the afternoon hours. V'chol hadinim mit'orerim be'ota sha'a milabad b'yom HaShabbat, except for Shabbat. This doesn't happen on Shabbat. She'adrabah. On Shabbat, that's the opposite. B'sha'at minha mit'orerim midat rahamim. Minshat minha on Shabbat is mercy. We talk about this also in the past in the latest class. Why do we say Sidkatecha on Shabbat? Right? Sidkatecha, 3 Pesukim for the 3 people that passed away. Right? 3 people passed away in Shabbat. Moshe, David, and Yosef. Right? Shabbat is a hamim. During the weekday, Minha in general, the deen is starting to come. So should you be afraid of that? Afa piken, even so, it's still allowed to say Selihot before Minha. שהרי מעשים בכל יום, שאנו אומרים וידוי, ונפילת אפיים בתפילת המנחה. Every day we say תחנון ויעבור during Minha. So if I could say ויעבור during Minha, why can't I say ויעבור at Selihot before Minha? So he says, don't worry about the judgment of Minha time. About the Arbi thing, they bring down here, the Arizal, he would give tzedakah. We give tzedakah shahrit, three coins in the pushka. It's good to give tzedakah minha also, but arbit he would not give tzedakah. In fact, the Arizal, he would only give tzedakah in the evening if it was an emergency campaign. That's what he brings down here. If it's not an emergency campaign, he says, the Mikubalim hold, if it's not an emergency campaign, wait until the morning. It's a time of judgment. You want to do the mitzvah of tzedakah in a time of rahamim. If you need to do it, you need to do it, obviously. Okay. And so therefore, he finishes off that it's allowed, as you can see, I told you, it's very straightforward. Ramosha Feinstein is the one who says it's allowed to pray at nighttime. Chavadia argues and says, no, not nighttime. But before sunset, you are allowed to pray Selihot according to Moshe Shulchan Aruch. There's no official sichum here. He doesn't have an official summary, but this is how he finishes off. On the bottom here, I just want to let you know, if you want to do further research, you can check it up yourself. I'm not going to go through the whole thing here. Some people, he says, someone wrote a letter or someone corrected him. He says, Rabbi Rabbi Shlomo Minahad, he issued a correction on this teshuvah, and he said, how could you say they could pray minha, they could pray Selihot before minha? We have a rule, tadid, and she'enu tadid kodem. Whatever comes more frequent should go first. Why would Selihot go before minha? Pray minha first, and then pray Selihot. This is what this Rabbi Shlomo Minahad, I don't know who it is. He says Shlita, so he was alive. He wrote this against him, and that goes through a whole thing here. And he says, "No, don't worry about it. This is not a problem of tadid and she'en tadid. The best thing to do is, if you can't make it for shachrit, then you pray Selihot before minha, and then you pray minha, and you're good to go. But you cannot pray Selihot at nighttime."
But they do Selihot at the Kotel at midnight.
Yeah.
After midnight. I myself went.
After midnight. After midnight, it should be. After midnight.
It's always after midnight.
It should be.